Krajco was of the first survivors who talked about narcissistic abuse under her real name. She died unexpectedly in her home 2008. She was 56 years old. I suspect the narc hive mind was behind her death. In her book, What Makes Narcissists Tick, Krajco says, "The darkness within. The other problem with Narcissus is that he doesn't necessarily want to make a good impression, he wants to make a grandiose impression. You know, like Superman, more powerful than a locomotive, faster than a speeding bullet, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Superman, or Superwoman, is just generally the greatest, as the, truly, great Muhammad Ali so hilariously spoofed the type. So, moral superiority is but one type of grandiosity. The narcissist creates the illusion of. But he's also gotta be smarter than you and prettier than you and stronger than you and, well, you get the idea. So, he craves many types reflected grandiosity. Remember that, in doing this, he is editing the deeply embedded impression of himself stamped on his impressionable mind at an early age by a cold and disapproving parent. The importance of self-concept cannot be overstated. No one can bear a shameful self-concept. A narcissist spends his or her entire life trying to expunge it. Can't be done. The wax has hardened. The impression is indelible. But that never stops a narcissist from hectically conducting this lifelong exercise in futility. In seeking to get from others the esteem denied him by his parent, he is trying to overturn that parent's judgment, debating the issue of his worth, trying to prove mother wrong by the looks on all the other faces, mirrors he meets. Nothing else matters to him but this unresolved issue. Everyone he meets is like a flower that a bee visits. Bee investigates flower for one purpose always and only, to assess what type of nectar, if any, can be got from it. Bee has no interest in any flower he can't exploit. Of those he can exploit, he exploits each a little differently. To see what I mean, look at the mirrors, faces below. Do you like the image of you each is reflecting? That's right, the face doesn't matter, the expression on it does. That reflects on you. Are there any of these expressions a narcissist would like his reflection in and play for? Are there any he would dislike his reflection in? A narcissist is someone who goes through life fixated on getting the right kinds of looks on other people's faces. A narcissist will love his reflection in the fourth mirror, because it reflects on him as being so grand he puts this fellow to shame. A narcissist will love his reflection in 14th mirror too, because it reflects on him as wonderful. And his reflection in the 12th mirror will cut the legs out from under a narcissist. See how the game works? For example, he'll exploit his boss for pleased and appreciative looks that reflect on him as the greatest employee. He'll exploit his fellow workers for other kinds of looks. He'll play mind games to get bounced back looks that reflect on him as psychologically dominant over them. He'll train some to become his hunting hounds, wagging their tails at him for approval of how well they're serving as his ventriloquist dummies with their baying all over the place about whomever he sicks them on. The whole time, at the same time, he'll be exploiting his minister for looks that reflect on him as the congregation's most saintly member. The headiest nectar, the nectar of the gods, is power. Nothing makes Narcissus feel grander. What does power look like in one of his mirrors? It's the wretched look of someone begging him for mercy. Someone he's being powerful on equals someone he's viciously abusing. Narcissists and psychopaths prefer this seeming powerful nectar over all other flavors. It's what your rapist, pedophile, and serial killer are playing to the mirror of the victim's face for. Yes, they love that wretched, devastated look on the victim's face. They get high on it, because it makes them inwardly thump their chest and give a Tarzan yell. For, vaunting themselves on others is pretending that they aren't weak and wretched after all. No, they're awesome instead. See ma? Awesomely sick in the head, that is, but Narcissus conveniently unknows that part. He unknows it simply by having the mental maturity of a 3-year-old, at which age everyone thinks that way. This flavor of nectar is precious, because a narcissist can't get it from many of his mirrors. For example, he usually doesn't dare vaunt himself on his boss, his minister, a VIP, or that cop writing him a traffic ticket. So, not all his mirrors are at risk to overt abuse. This nectar of seeming powerful is so precious to him that narcissists will go to great expense to keep someone just to abuse that person. Like a drug addict who will pay any price to support an expensive habit. In seeking the mate, that's what he's after. He methodically isolates his mate from her family and the rest of the world, often partly by slandering her behind her back, burning her bridges of former employment behind her, and getting her pregnant immediately to make her utterly dependent on him. Then the honeymoon is suddenly over. And children are readily exploitable for this nectar of the gods, too. Because it is very easy to hurt their feelings. One nasty remark can eviscerate a little child, making Narcissus feel very powerful indeed. Whereas he'd have to work at hurting his wife that deeply. This shows why most psychopaths and narcissists don't get to the point of committing physically violent crimes like rape, pedophilia, or serial torture and murder. They don't get to the point that such extreme physical violence is required to stimulate them anymore. For, they can feel good about themselves by inflicting horrendous pain and suffering without leaving a mark, simply through the occult violence of mental cruelty. Because there's more than one way to use someone up and then just toss them in a dumpster along the way. Even in those physically violent crimes I mentioned, the worst part is the wanton mental cruelty, not the physical violence. The darkness within. And so, like 3-year-olds, narcissists think that putting others beneath them aggrandizes themselves. They do this exactly like 3-year-olds do, with extravagant acting jobs, as if pretending it's so makes it so. They must have all the toys, you can't have any. They pout. They fold their arms, stamp their feet, and stick their noses imperiously way up in the air. To show that they're better than you, they must treat you like dirt and like you're beneath their notice, denying you regard, sympathy, affection, praise, and all other forms of positive attention. Often people get sidetracked in the details of narcissistic behavior and fail to grasp the overall significance of it. What is the significance? Well, if you think you must have all attention, all regard, credit, appreciation, respect, sympathy, gratitude, and so forth, you think others must get none. Which means that you compete with others over every scrap of attention in the room, because you want it all equals you won't keep others from getting any of these good things they need and deserve, the things that make people feel good about themselves. Get a whiff of something in that? Anyone with a nose knows the nature of a spirit hostile to others getting what makes people feel good about themselves. Let's just say it isn't the spirit of good fault will. No, let's be forthright and call it what it is, malevolence. That's the very essence of malevolence. And, in an adult, who has much power to act on it plus the ability to brood, malevolence is a serious matter. It's the worst character flaw a person could have. Many convicted criminals are better. For example, some steal to pay a bill. There's no malice in that. Even violent crimes can be void of malice. As when a frightened robber kills someone who tries to fight him off. Or as when someone commits murder in anger for revenge. He is no threat to anyone else because he isn't even tempted to hurt anyone else, and he doesn't go around wishing to see harm or privation befall anyone else. So, bad as these actions are, they're morally superior to those of a narcissist or psychopath. It just ain't natural to have ill will toward people who aren't harming you, have never harmed you, and have never threatened to harm you. It just ain't natural to be made unhappy by good things happening to others. It just ain't natural to want to deprive people of things they need to be happy. And pure malice's choice of victim thunders its warning about these people. It just ain't natural to want to hurt children, people who love you, strangers, and the innocent. That's hostility to the rest of the human race. It's malignant. And it's spooky. Imagine if you were like that inside. We all know the bitterness of being robbed or cheated. Imagine feeling that way whenever you see anyone else praised, feeling deprived of this praise as though you should have gotten it instead. Imagine feeling bitter about other people's success, popularity, or good fortune. Imagine feeling gratified by others' disgrace or failure. Could you stand yourself if you were that sick inside? I could be wrong about this, But a narcissist I knew convinced me that the thing a narcissist fears most is a knowing look. The knowing look of someone looking right in through their eyes to see the malignant lurking inside. I think it puts them into a panic. After all, it's their big secret, isn't it? Narcissists spend every waking moment concealing it with an elaborate facade. And who wouldn't? Could you stand yourself if you were that sick inside? I sure couldn't. If there was ever a good reason to kill yourself, that would be it. That must be why Narcissus can't bear to look within and know his true self. He must be as horrified as anyone would be at the thought of confronting such darkness within. Malignance within that wants to keep people from getting what makes them happy. That's the big chill, man, you know, like the devil. No one, not even Narcissus, can bear the thought of having a malignant nature. He doesn't dare face that about himself. For, if he ever did, as one narcissist put it to me, he'd have to kill himself without even leaving a note. What's more, the narcissist's false image but veils, it does not erase, the truth about him. The truth still lies underneath in the subconscious, threatening to surface to consciousness in a moment of self-awareness if the veil falls. So he must avoid those occasions when we normally reflect, looking inward, to commune with ourselves. In other words, he must avoid being alone with himself. Indeed, he lives an inner life of nervous desperation in terror of being alone with himself. Every waking moment is a hectic endeavor to continuously busy his mind with distractions, which may include an inordinate amount of sleep, and busy himself in trivial pursuits. I have a hunch that a study of narcissists would reveal a high rate of unexplained extreme hypertension and heart failure.